Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Hope you've had a lovely day. I wish I could be there, even if it was just for one day. I think I'm about ready now after 12 weeks for one day um, away from a cheeky 3-year-old, as much as I love him. So, wish I could be there. Maisie, hope you had a lovely day yesterday. I bet it was the weirdest birthday you've ever had, but I hope you managed to make the most of it like you do with everything and had a great day. You had your instalment yesterday by Miss B, and it ended with this discussion about a ninth theory that Ted seems to think there could be. So I wonder if we'll find out what that is today. So we're going to get going with chapter 15, which is called Infinity. By the second ring, we dashed to the door. Cat pushed past me, elbowing me in the stomach. By the third ring, we were on the landing. We heard Dad answering on the extension in his and Mum's bedroom. We didn't dare to go in, but we listened. But Dad's voice is soft and I could hear nothing. Then Aunt Gloria staggered out of Cat's room in a silky pale blue nightdress. Her eyes were wide open and her hair was messy. "Salim?" she whispered. Her teeth chattered as if she was cold, although the temperature that night was not due to drop below 15 degrees. She flung open Mum and Dad's bedroom door just as Dad hung up. "Salem?" she repeated. "No, sorry," Dad said. "It wasn't Salem. It was the police." "They found him. Please, please tell me they found him." "They're not sure." Cat was holding my arm and squeezing it hard. Her mouth was like a round O, a very big O. She was staring at Dad's face, and something she saw there had made her startled. So I looked at Dad too. I could see strange movements going across his lips and eyebrows. There were small globules of sweat on his forehead. Globules, what a great word. See if you can use it. It was not an expression I'd ever seen on him before. "What do you mean they're not sure?" "They've either found him or they haven't," Aunt Gloria said. Her voice had a strange wobble in it that made a pumping start in my ears. It's like this," Dad said. "They found someone not far from the London Eye, near the river, a young Asian boy." That's it, I thought, remembering theory number 4. They found somebody who's lost his memory and don't know who he is anymore. He's been wandering around all day without knowing where to go. "That must be him," Aunt Gloria said. "Why didn't they bring him here right away?" "They couldn't," Dad was saying, "because you see this boy, whoever he is, he could be anyone at all. This boy is..." Dad was muttering now. I was waiting for him to say he'd lost his memory, or maybe that the blow to his head had landed him in hospital, so it was not safe yet for him to move. I didn't expect what came next. "He's, in the morgue." I won't say much about what happened next. Aunt Gloria was sick on the carpet. Mum leaped out of bed. She sobbed and hugged Aunt Gloria, saying it couldn't possibly be Salem, while Dad started throwing outdoor clothes on over his pyjamas and Cat stood there gripping me. I turned to the door and started thumping it. Dad put a hand on my arm, and the next thing I knew, the police had arrived and taken Dad away to look at this young Asian boy in the morgue, who might or might not be Salem. Aunt Gloria was too ill to go. She lay on the sofa, covered over in a blanket, saying, "Salem, Salem, please, don't let it be you on that cold slab, Salem, Salem." Her teeth chattered, and Mum sat on the arm of the sofa stroking her hair. Then Cat did something really brave. She made a pot of tea, even though her hands were shaking. That's Cat. Horrible about small problems like missing a bus or being 10 pence short for the CD she wants, but good about the big problems like when Mum had a big operation the year before. She made us frozen dinners and asked Dad how his day at work had been while we ate them. Then when Mum got home, she ran up and down stairs with cups of tea, flowers and magazines, and Mum said she didn't know how she'd cope without her. The others had tea in the living room waiting for Dad's return, and Mum had to bring the mug up to Aunt Gloria's lips to get her to drink as if she was a baby. I brought my tea back upstairs to my room. On the desk I found the list of theories and the souvenir photo that Cat had bought at the wheel. I stared at them. without seeing them. Dover, White, Portland, I thought. Northwest 6 to gale 8, becoming cyclonic. 54 minutes went by between when Dad went out of the door with the police and when he came back. That's 3,240 seconds. I read somewhere that as you get older, your brain speeds up. You think time goes faster, so perhaps I felt the 3,240 seconds the longest, but Kat said later she was sure Aunt Gloria must have found them longer than me. She said the more agony you feel, the more time slows down, and Aunt Gloria must have been in more agony than anyone else because it was her son that might or might not be lying on that cold slab. A young Asian boy. Salem? Or not Salem? Something terrible happened during those 54 minutes. No amount of making up shipping forecasts could stop me from thinking about it. Death. I realised finally that it was real. I would die one day. Kat would die. Mum would die. Dad would die. Aunt Gloria would die. Even Mr. Shepherd at school would die one day. Every living thing on this planet would die. It was not a question of if, but when. Of course, I'd known about death before, but during those 54 minutes I really knew it. That's when I realised that there are two kinds of knowledge, shallow and deep. You can know something in theory, but not know it in practice. You can know part of something, but not know all of it. Knowledge can be like the skin on the surface of water in a pond, or it can go all the way down to the mud. It can be the tiny tip of the iceberg, or the whole 100%. I thought of the long chain of all the days of my life and wondered how far along that chain I'd already got. Was I still starting? Halfway along? Or nearing the end? If it was Salem on the cold slab, did he know when he got up this morning that he'd reached the last link on the chain? I thought about God and immortal souls and eternity. I remembered how years ago, when Father Russell in our church taught me that God had made me, I asked him, if God made me, who made God? Father Russell had smiled and said I was a born theologian, but didn't answer my question. Did another God make him? I'd said, and in my mind's eye I saw a chain of gods, each having made the last, going back into infinity. Father Russell had sat down beside me and said, there's only one God, Ted, one God who has always been there. He is outside of time, he is beyond our understanding, and he is always with us. I wondered now about this God who is beyond our understanding. I closed my eyes and I tried to imagine it. But no matter how hard I thought, all I could see were clouds of confusion in a vast and silent universe. And if I'd still had my trampoline, I would have jumped extra hard and extra high. Dad came through the door 3,240 seconds later. I went downstairs a different Ted from the Ted that had gone up. I had stared death in the face. When I saw Dad, I knew that he too had stared death in the face. His eyes were looking far away into the same vast void. Mum, Aunt Gloria and Kat threw themselves at him. No, he kept saying, drawing the three of them into an embrace. Don't worry, it wasn't Salem. It was somebody else, some poor other boy, but it wasn't Salem. Then he looked over their heads at me and I looked back at him and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. There's someone else. The boy who wasn't Salem, the young Asian who was lying on the slab. If it wasn't Salem, who was it? There were shrieks, there were tears, laughter, there were countless thank gods, I knew it wasn't him, I told you it wasn't him. I didn't say anything. Dad stood still among the confusion, shaking his head. Then he said in a quiet way, it was a boy, some young boy of the street, maybe a bit older than Salem, but smaller, brown and skinny, a bit of a moustache, just like Salem had when he arrived. Before he shaved it off, Kat said. And the same black jeans, a kind of lost innocence in his face, a boy who'd never had much in the first place, I'd say. There was dirt in his fingernails and bruises on his arms. Dad shook himself as if he was waking up from a nightmare. How'd he die, Dad? Cat said. He didn't answer. I need a drink, Faith, he said. A scotch. Cat took me by the arm. Ted, let's go, she whispered. I heard Aunt Gloria crying again, quietly this time. Cat went back upstairs and I followed her. Without saying anything, she curled up on the lilo and I got into bed. The boy on the slab, a boy of the streets. I turned off the light and listened to Cat's breathing, which showed that she was alive. Dirt in his fingernails. Salem or not Salem? The words went round in my head like a scary nursery rhyme echoing into infinity. It was a long time before I went to sleep. Chapter 16. Cloud cover. The next day I woke up early. I looked out of the window to find thick cloud covering London. Humidity had increased overnight. If I'd been the weatherman that morning, I would have said an area of low pressure was moving in from the west with closely packed isobars and a chance of thunder. Cat was already up. She was sitting at my desk arranging the list of theories on one side, the souvenir photo she'd brought at the Eye, and Salem's camera on the other side. These are theories, she said, and these are clues. I've thought it out during the night, Ted, and I've got a plan. I know about Cat's plans. They always involve doing things Mum and Dad have told us not to do. I shuffled up to her side. A plan? I said. 3 plans. First, we develop the film. The photographs might reveal another clue, you never know. I nodded. This seemed good. Then, we test out theory number 8. I wasn't sure what this involved, but I said nothing. And then, we take another ride on the Eye. I thought about this. Revisiting the place where Salem had disappeared was a good idea. In detective stories, where the sleuth revisits the scene of a crime, he nearly always finds a clue that's been overlooked by the ordinary police. But there was a problem. Mum will never allow it, I said. If she says no, we'll just sneak out anyway. That would be wrong, Cat. Besides, we haven't got the money for the tickets. Cat reached for her leopard skin backpack. She took out some large notes and 3 £1 coins. Mum and Aunt Glo gave me this money yesterday, remember? For the 5 tickets. The souvenir photo was £7 and this is what's left. Shouldn't you give it back to Mum, Cat? Stealing is bad. It says so in the Bible. Shut up, Ted. She hasn't asked for it. She's forgotten. I went. Cat shrugged. Mum thinks it's my fault Salem went missing. Fine, I'll give her money back in my own time. It's a loan, not stealing, okay? She turned to the window, threw it open and leaned outside. She put Salem's camera to her eye and clicked 18 times. She took 18 photographs of our back garden with the washing on the line and beyond that, the shed. I did not think these would make very interesting shots. When she finished clicking, the film rewound itself. She examined the camera carefully. Found it, she said. She pressed a button on the side and the back of the camera jumped open. She shook out the roll of film. That's plan A, she said. Now for plan B. She put on her long dressing gown over a nightdress and stood there with the back of the gown draped over her arm. Come on, she said. I stared. Don't you want to test your theory? She said. She picked up the sheet with the 8 theories and read the last one aloud, about Salem hiding in someone else's clothes. Now it came down to it, I didn't much like the idea of getting in under Cat's dressing gown. I said. She took me by the elbow and dragged me downstairs. In the hallway she made me crouch down behind her and humped the back of the dressing gown over my shoulders. She made me put my hands around her waist and practice walking up and down. Then we walked into the kitchen. It reminded me of the time that Dad had played the back half of a donkey in the school pantomime. I could hear but not see that Mum was washing up glasses from the night before. She must have looked round. Hello, Cat, she said. Her voice had a sighing sound in it. What on earth's Ted doing up the back of your dressing gown? I got out and stood up, blinking. Told you, said Cat. Is this some kind of joke? Mum said. We were checking a theory of mine, Mum, I said, about how Salem might have left the pod without us noticing. It is only one of 8. Mum looked at me. And she looked at Cat. A grimy glass was in her hand. It dropped back into the suds. She took off her rubber gloves. Cat, she said, can you finish this? Her words were ordinary, but her face was a Siberian permafrost. Kat took over the washing up without saying a word. Mum went through to the living room and sat there very still. "Ted," she called, "I want to talk to you." I was in trouble. I didn't know why. I said, going through and standing before her. "Ted," she said. Her left hand stroked her forehead. "You and your theories. Salem's gone missing, Ted. It's not a game." "Not a game," I repeated. "I don't think you realise how serious this is." "Serious," I agreed. "Don't keep repeating what I say." "Don't grunt. I've told you about that before. Remember? Sorry. And remember to look at me properly when I'm talking to you." I concentrated on making my eyes move so that instead of looking at Mum's shoulder, I was looking at her face. Her eyes were small and her skin was white and her lips were turned down. "Ted," she leaned over and touched my hands. "Just think for a minute. What if Auntie Glow had seen you? How would she have felt?" My hand started to shake. "But Mum, we've got these theories, 8 of them, and Ted, no." My head went off to one side. I checked out the swirls on the carpet. My hand flapped harder. Mum's usually the one to understand me in this house. She stuck up for me countless times when I tried to explain my theories about weather systems or other remarkable phenomena of the universe. And Kat tells me to shut up. It's Mum who tells Kat not to be rude. But since Salem disappeared, it had been the other way round. Kat was listening and Mum wasn't. I could hear Kat in the kitchen. Plates and pans clattered. I did something I'd never done before. I didn't answer Mum. I didn't even go hum. I went back into the kitchen. I picked up a glass from the draining board and I smashed it on the floor. Kat looked at me, eyes wide. "God, what next?" Mum wailed, coming through to the kitchen after me. "Our best crystal." "Sorry, Mum," Kat said. "It was my fault, not Ted's. It slipped." But Mum had seen it happen. We all looked at the glass on the floor and I hummed and my hand flapped and I didn't stop it and Mum didn't tell me to stop it. She looked on in silence while Kat got out the dustpan and brush and swept up the mess. Then she sat on a chair at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, and I knew I had made her sad and I wanted to go back to my room. Then Dan came in. He was wearing jeans and an old shirt, which meant he thought it was the weekend and he didn't have to go to work, although he did because it was only Tuesday. He went up to the sink, shuffled Kat to one side, took the mug she had just washed up, turned the cold tap on, filled it and gulped it down. He finished the water, filled the mug a second time and gulped it down again. Kat nudged me and nodded her head. There were 2 wine bottles and a half-empty brandy bottle and a third empty whiskey bottle on the fridge. I remembered reading that alcohol, even though it is liquid, makes you thirsty. If you've marooned in a calm sea with barrels of wine and no water, there are 2 things you shouldn't do. Drink the wine or drink the sea. Actually, there's a third thing you shouldn't drink. Maybe you can guess what that is. "So," Mum said, "somebody's not going to work today." I looked around the room, wondering who she meant. Dad knocked back another glass. "Somebody's already rung in sick. Feel rotten, Faye, I really do. Where's Gloria?" "Still asleep. Thank Lord for small mercies." "Dad," Kat began. "Mum." She let out the suds, took the mug from Dad, rinsed it and upended it on the draining board. "Ted and I," she said, "we were wondering. We'd like to go out today." Mum's lips pursed and her eyes rolled. "After what happened yesterday? Not to mention Ted breaking that glass just now. It's out of the question. You're grounded, both of you. But no buts." Dad cleared his throat. He took Mum by the arm and led her into the living room. He closed the door behind them. I could hear them arguing in undertones. Kat leaned over and whispered, "Dad's on our side." "I know it. He'll get Mum to let us go out. You wait and see." Kat was right. 45 minutes later, she and I were walking out of the house along with Dad. Mum said goodbye in the hallway. Her arms darted out as I passed her, and she gave me a hug. The hug was very short because she knows I do not like hugs of any kind. I saw her face up close, and it was red and blotchy, which meant she'd been crying and was unhappy still. "Have a good day, all of you," she said. Dad took his mobile phone in case of news. As we walked towards the tube station, Dad asked, "Where do you want to go?" "This science museum," I said. Kat kicked my shin, a very rude thing to do. "Actually, I want to go to the shopping centre first, Dad," she said. Not more CDs, Kat. Oh no, I just have to nip to the chemist. She held out her hand and wiggled her fingernails, which were painted silver, for some nail polish remover. Can't wait to see the back of that stuff, Dad says. It makes you look like an alien in a B-movie. While Kat was in the chemist's, Dad and I waited outside, and he told me what a B-movie was and how films like Creature from the Black Lagoon or Catwoman of the Moon, which Dad has in his collection, were made on low budgets with poor quality props and actors, and were so bad that were actually funny and had a cult following. I asked Dad what a cult following was. Dad said a cult following was a fan club of something that wasn't really mainstream, which means something that only a certain number of people like. I was asking Dad how many fans it took to make something move from being side stream to mainstream when Kat reappeared, brandishing a plastic bottle of blue liquid. Got your paint stripper? Dad said to her. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Where next? Ted had an idea, didn't you? Yes, Kat, the Science Museum. Not that one. The idea before that one. Her little finger went round in a circle. She winked. Kat's behaviour, from snapping 18 pictures of the garden shed to making me get under her dressing gown to darting off to buy nail polish remover, was making my brain spin. Remember, Ted? Yes, the London Eye. Dad stopped walking. He folded his arms and looked at me, then at Kat. So this is what this is all about, is it? He said. You two are on a trail, huh? Kat did her hands raised shoulder shrug. Then she grabbed Dad's arm. Dad, it won't do any harm. You never know. If we go back at the same time as we were there yesterday, he might even show up. He might not know his way back to our house, but anybody could find the eye again, whatever they'd got to. We just wanted to have another look. Get in a pod, see what it's like. See things as Salem must have seen them. It was another one of those sentences that everybody finishes in their head, not out loud. Kat's lips trembled. I once heard Mum say that Kat had Dad wrapped around her little finger. I'd no idea what Mum was talking about. I'd looked at Kat's little finger and imagined Dad going around it, in miniature, stretched and pummelled into an odd-looking living ring. Dad drew Kat towards him and gave her a squeeze. It's really hard, Kitten. I know it is. Kitten is what Dad called Kat when she was small. He looked up at the sky. The eye it is. There's a lot of cloud, which is good and bad. Why bad? Said Kat. We won't see that far. Why good? I said. Because it won't be too crowded, Ted, which means we won't have long to queue. Let's go. He sounds like quite a good dad to have, doesn't he? Somebody that's on their side and willing to give their ideas a go. Ooh, I wonder if it's going to lead anywhere, getting on that eye again. Hope you've had a great day. Have another one tomorrow, and I will see you soon. Bye, guys.